We are counting down the 12 most dangerous beginner rider habits putting new motorcyclists at serious risk in 2026. From mindset mistakes that turn your bike into a donor cycle to hidden technique gaps and common maintenance oversights, these ranked habits show how easily riders ignore life or death fundamentals. Some may surprise you with their simplicity. Others could be the difference between walking away or never getting up. Let's reveal what tops the list, starting with the psychological trap most likely to send you straight into a crash. Target fixation is the silent killer of new riders. It happens in a split second. Your eyes lock onto a hazard and your bike follows, no matter how badly you want to avoid it. In 2023, helmet cam footage from a novice in the western US captured the moment everything went wrong. A pothole appeared, the rider stared, and within seconds the bike veered straight into danger. The result was a high-side crash and months of recovery. This is not rare. Eye-tracking studies show that beginners fixate on threats for much longer than experienced riders, especially under stress. The longer you stare, the more your steering drifts toward the very thing you want to miss. The fix is brutal but simple. Train your eyes to look where you want to go, not at what you fear. In a parking lot, run the look-to-exit drill. Pick a safe path, turn your head and your eyes to the exit, and steer only after your vision is locked on the escape. Repeat this for 60 to 90 seconds at the start of every practice session. The rule is absolute: eyes to the exit, always. Your vision is your steering wheel. Break this habit, and you break the cycle of avoidable crashes. Shorts, sneakers, and a t-shirt on a motorcycle are a bet against physics and probability. In 2023, only 64.9% of riders wore DOT-approved helmets, and the numbers drop even lower for gloves, jackets, and boots, especially on short, local rides. Trauma registry data draws a hard line. Riders in full gear walk away from crashes at rates that casual dressers do not. A level 1 trauma surgeon puts it bluntly: "I see the difference between a rider in full gear and one who isn't. It is the difference between walking out of here and not." The evidence is everywhere. Fatal and critical injuries are 2 to 3 times more likely when you ride without certified protection. Every crash is a test you can't schedule, and the outcome is set before you hit the ground. The fix is mechanical. Before every ride, run a gear checklist: helmet, jacket, gloves, boots, pants. No exceptions, no matter how short the trip. Gear is not a style choice or a comfort preference. It is your last line of defense when prevention fails. The rule is absolute: gear up every ride. That's the difference between a close call and a catastrophic outcome. Riding next to a car's rear door or a truck's cab means you have disappeared from the driver's world. Data from NHTSA shows that more than 40% of motorcycle crashes with other vehicles happen because the rider simply was not seen. Blind spots are not just theory. They are mapped out by crash investigators in real collisions, and the danger is multiplied in city traffic. Multiple camera reconstructions of recent urban crashes reveal a pattern. Beginner riders linger in these invisible zones, sometimes for over a dozen seconds, waiting for a gap or lost in the flow. In February 2025, a delivery rider in Chicago spent nearly 19 seconds beside a truck, out of the driver's view, before being clipped and triggering a 4-car pileup. The aftermath was chaos. Multiple injuries, a totaled bike, and a rider who never saw the swerve coming. Experts reviewing helmet cam footage call this the no-zone linger. The rule is simple: never hang out in a blind spot. Cross the danger zone in under 2 seconds. Commit, accelerate, and clear the area. Choose the 1/3 of the lane that keeps you visible in mirrors, and always check for escape routes. Visibility is survival. If you cannot see the driver's face, they cannot see you. Stay out of the shadows, and you stay out of the wreckage. Sunny weather, empty roads, and a full tank. This is how most beginner crashes start. Not in a storm, not on a racetrack, but on a routine ride where confidence quietly slips into overconfidence. The majority of novice rider incidents happen on these easy days, with no warning except the voice in your head saying, "I've got this." That voice is the problem. Ego riding is the gap between what you want to do and what you can actually control. It is the urge to lean harder, push faster, or copy the moves you saw in a highlight reel. The numbers do not lie. Most good weather crashes involve riders exceeding their own skill limits, not the bikes. Here's the audit. Set 2 hard limits for yourself. One for speed, one for lean angle. Write them down, stick them on your tank, and review them after every ride. If you broke either, dial it back. The drill is simple. Each week, ride at 80% of your limit, then review your performance with a buddy or coach. only increase when you have mastered every step at the previous level. The rule is non-negotiable: limit first, lean later. Skill is built in layers, not leaps. Ego does not get a vote, and neither does the weather. Slamming the rear brake in a panic turns a routine stop into a one-way ticket to the pavement. Accident investigators find that in a large share of single-vehicle novice crashes, the rear tire leaves a black streak, proof that the rider stomped the rear pedal, locked the wheel, and lost control. This is not a rare slip. Over-reliance on the rear brake is a habit carried over from driving cars, and it is a leading factor in loss of control crashes among new riders. The fix is a 3-count drill. In an open lot, practice applying the rear brake with a slow, steady build and count 1, 2, 3 as you press. The goal is not to stomp, but to modulate. Feel the pressure rise, hold it at the edge of traction, and release smoothly. If the rear starts to skid, ease off and recover. Never freeze or clamp harder. Run this drill for 5 minutes at the start of every session. The rule is clear: modulate the rear and count it in. Skid marks do not lie, and neither do crash statistics. Master the rear brake and you cut out one of the most common ways new riders lose their bikes. Treating the clutch like a light switch, snapping it out, or dumping it in turns a simple start into a nightmare of stalls and dropped bikes. Parking lot surveillance and Motorcycle Safety Foundation course records show a clear pattern. New riders who pop the clutch or grab it suddenly are the same ones who tip over at stop signs or lurch into traffic. The problem is not the bike, it is the habit of skipping the friction zone. The fix is as basic as it gets: line follow drills at walking speed. Set your bike in first gear, pick a painted line or a chalk mark, and feather the clutch so the bike creeps forward without throttle. Keep your feet up, eyes ahead, and adjust the clutch until you can hold a steady crawl. If the bike surges or stalls, reset and try again, using only the clutch for control. This is where finesse is built, one fingertip of movement at a time. The rule is simple and absolute: the clutch is a dimmer, not a switch. Smooth, gradual engagement keeps the bike balanced and you in control. Master this drill and you will leave the parking lot drops behind for good. A twitch of the wrist can end a ride before it really begins. Poor throttle control is the silent trigger behind countless high side crashes, especially for new riders who mistake the throttle for an on-off switch. Veteran MSF instructors admit they learned this lesson the hard way. One instructor described a rookie moment when a panicked, jerky twist shot his bike into a violent high side, landing him in the emergency room and reshaping his entire teaching approach. The pattern is clear. Throttle spikes show up in crash telemetry just seconds before disaster. Slow-motion throttle trace analysis reveals the culprit: choppy, abrupt inputs that throw the bike's weight off balance. The fix is a drill every pro swears by. Slow speed figure eights in an empty lot. Anchor your wrist on the throttle housing, roll on with steady pressure, and roll off just as smoothly. If you see your throttle hand bouncing or hear the engine lurch, reset and start again. The goal is to keep your inputs as smooth as tracing a line in wet paint. Repeat until the throttle feels like a volume knob, not a trigger. The rule is carved into every MSF curriculum: smooth on, smooth off. Control the throttle, or the throttle will control you. ABS, traction control, and stability systems now come standard on nearly every entry-level bike rolling off the line in 2026. Manufacturers pitch these features as game changers, promising new riders a safety net that can catch almost any mistake. But the reality is less forgiving. Safety educators and crash investigators warn that risk-taking actually rises when riders trust electronics to do the hard work. Helmet cam studies and urban traffic data from 2025 show a clear pattern. Beginners with ABS and traction control take sharper corners, brake later, and ride closer to the edge, believing the tech will always bail them out. The gap between aided and unaided stops is where the truth lands. In controlled drills, instructors have new riders perform emergency stops with all aids on, and then repeat the same stop with everything switched off. The difference is immediate: longer stopping distances, locked wheels, and panicked recoveries when the electronics step back. Skill is exposed, and for many, it's a hard wake-up call. The rule is blunt: skill first, tech second. Rider aids are a net, not a crutch. They soften the landing, but they cannot save you from a habit you never fixed. If you're riding like the bike will always save you, you're riding on borrowed luck. Riding the center of the lane feels natural to most beginners, but it is a trap laid by routine. Decades of road grime, oil drips, and broken glass settle right where your tires want to roll. Motorcycle Safety Foundation instructors and crash investigators agree: the center track is almost always the slickest. especially at intersections and stoplights where vehicles idle and leak fluids. That patch of shiny pavement is not just ugly, it is a hazard waiting to take your traction when you need it most. Tire pattern analysis from recent crash scenes shows a clear link. Bikes that go down in dry conditions often have center lane residue on the rubber. The solution is as straightforward as it is life-saving. Picture the lane as 3 equal sections, left, center, and right thirds. Always pick a third, never the center. The left or right third gives you a clean line, better sight angles past traffic, and a built-in escape route if something goes wrong. Overhead diagrams from safety drills prove it. Riders in the lane thirds spot hazards sooner and have more room to swerve. The rule is blunt and easy to remember. Pick a third, keep an exit. Where you ride in the lane is your first defense against the unknown. A glance in the mirror isn't enough to keep you alive in traffic. Relying on mirrors alone before changing lanes is a habit that gets riders blindsided, literally. The MAIDS study found that in 69% of multi-vehicle motorcycle crashes, the other driver did not even attempt to avoid the collision. They never saw the bike. The reason is simple. Riders skipped the final step, the head and shoulder check. Mirrors show only a slice of reality, and blind spots swallow motorcycles whole. Crash logs are filled with cases where riders assumed the lane was clear, signaled, and moved right into the path of a car hiding just out of view. A split-second head turn could have changed everything. The drill is non-negotiable. Mirror, signal, shoulder. Every time you plan to move, check your mirror, activate your signal, then physically turn your head and glance over your shoulder before committing. Build this into muscle memory. Practice in a parking lot and repeat it before every merge. If you can't see the car with your own eyes, it isn't safe. The rule is absolute. Mirror, signal, shoulder. Never trust glass alone. This habit is quick to install and even quicker to save your life. A motorcycle tire failure at speed is almost always catastrophic. Blowouts, sudden deflation, or low-pressure wobbles can turn a straight road into a disaster scene in seconds. The cause is almost always the same: neglected tire pressure. Most new riders skip this step, trusting a quick glance or a squeeze, but that is not enough. Factory specs are printed right on the swing arm or in the manual, yet too many riders roll out with tires underinflated by 5 or even 10 pounds per square inch. The danger climbs fast. Low pressure means more heat, less grip, and a higher risk of a blowout. Handling gets vague, cornering feels loose, and emergency maneuvers become unpredictable. Tire failures at highway speed are frequently fatal, and every mechanic has a story that starts with a neglected gauge and ends with a totaled bike. The routine is non-negotiable. Before every ride, get a pressure gauge, check both tires, and compare the reading to the recommended pressure on the swing arm or in the manual. The whole process takes less than 2 minutes. If the numbers are off, correct them right then, not later. 2 minutes with a gauge beats a hospital bill. Make it a habit, and you close the door on one of the most preventable causes of fatal crashes. Most new riders believe steering is just turning the handlebars, but at speed that instinct can get you hurt. Countersteering is the real law of motorcycle physics. Push the right bar and the bike leans right. Push left and it leans left. It sounds backwards, but it is how every motorcycle initiates a turn above walking pace. The Hurt report found that rider error caused 2/3 of single-vehicle motorcycle crashes, and misunderstanding steering dynamics is a major culprit. Here is the drill. In a safe, empty lot, ride straight at 15 to 20 miles per hour. Pick a cone or a chalk mark. As you approach, gently push the handlebar on the side you want to go. Push right to go right, push left to go left. Hold the push through the turn. The bike will lean and arc smoothly. Repeat until it feels automatic, not forced. Remember the mnemonic, push where you want to go. The rule is simple. Steer with the bars, counter to turn. Master this and you control the bike. Miss it and the bike controls you. Across all 12 habits, one pattern stands out. Beginner mistakes aren't random. They are predictable and entirely preventable. Each lapse, from mindset to technique, reveals how easy it is to trade confidence for critical safety. Today, new riders face the same traps as decades ago. The truth is this: mastering riding isn't about skill. It is about breaking the habits that hide in plain sight every single ride.